The Lost Art of Disagreement. It's a cliché now, the annual Thanksgiving Survival Guide, a magazine article or morning show segment on how to navigate the inevitable political arguments with your family. The advice is always the same. Keep it light, change the subject, stick to safe topics. The quiet tragedy is that we need these guides at all. We have, it seems, collectively accepted a devastating premise that we are no longer capable of talking to one another. We've lost the art of disagreement. Conversation has been replaced by combat. We don't engage with ideas we oppose. We seek to vanquish them, and often the person holding them. This retreat into our respective tribes isn't just about political polarization. It's a fundamental breakdown in our ability to communicate. It is fueled by a seductive and profoundly dangerous narrative, one that whispers from every corner of our media landscape. Everything would be fine if only it weren't for those people. You can tell an argument is failing when it hinges on this notion. It is a rhetorical surrender, an admission that you can no longer grapple with the substance of an issue and must instead create a villain. It simplifies the world into a battle of us versus them, the righteous versus the wicked. This is the tactic of the demagogue, a tool as old as time, used to consolidate power by focusing the public's fear and rage on a convenient scapegoat. It's the logic that isolates the untouchable, and in its most grotesque form, it was the engine of Nazi propaganda, which convinced a nation that all its problems could be blamed on a single, vilified group. I have felt what this rhetorical surrender feels like firsthand. The story begins in my native Philadelphia. My mind was buzzing with a collection of messy, conflicting observations. I saw a public school system in visible decay, a painful sight in a city with such deep historic roots. At the same time, I watched my friends graduate from good universities, armed with prestigious degrees, but shackled by mountains of student loan debt that felt like a punishment for their ambition. But I also saw a city's proud spirit pushing back. I saw a vibrant rebuilding culture taking root. Many of those same friends, disillusioned with the promise of a corporate ladder, were turning to the skilled trades. They were becoming carpenters, plumbers, and electricians, their hands bringing old buildings back to life. They were joining unions or starting their own small businesses, finding a profound sense of purpose and pride in their work that their expensive education had failed to deliver. It felt like a rediscovery of Philadelphia's blue-collar soul. It struck me as a potential path forward. What if we invested seriously in vocational education? What if we created pathways for young people to gain these valuable, high-paying skills without needing a 4-year academic degree and the crushing debt that comes with it? Couldn't this empower people in every neighborhood, from every socioeconomic background? I was wrestling with these thoughts when I shared them with my cab driver. He listened intently and nodded. "That's a great idea," he said, turning around briefly at a stoplight. "But part of the problem is people like you not sticking around long enough to fight for them." His words stung with accusation. A few weeks later, with this mental baggage, I was at a house party in a nicer San Francisco neighborhood. I ended up in conversation with a PhD student at Berkeley studying the educational system. I hoped to test my rough ideas to get the input of someone studying these things seriously. Maybe I presented the ideas poorly, my passion outstripping my polish. I don't know, but I will never forget the response. It wasn't a question or a counter-argument. It was an immediate accusation, delivered with a contemptuous glare. "Oh, so you think all the poor people should just be your barber or your trash man?" The air went out of the room. In an instant, I was no longer a person with an idea. I was a label, an enemy, an elitist who wanted to build a permanent underclass for my own convenience. The conversation was over. Based on what happened next, I can only assume she painted me as some kind of monster to her friend. I stepped outside for a cigarette. A few moments later, I was confronted by another guest. He was tall and imposing, clearly trying to pick a fight, puffed up with second-hand outrage. I have never been a brawler, and my goal is always to de-escalate, not engage. I simply offered him one of my high-quality, hand-rolled cigarettes. This did the trick, and he took it. We ended up talking for 20 minutes. I explained where the idea came from, the people I knew, the debt I'd seen, the pride in craftsmanship that was so tangible in my city. I talked about the cab driver. He listened. To his immense credit, he apologized for the misunderstanding. He explained that his friend had a habit of being quick to judge and that this wasn't the first time. That encounter, that stark difference between a label and a conversation is everything, representing two sides of the same dysfunctional coin. On one side, the PhD student's reaction is a perfect, painful example of how we have abandoned the art of disagreement for the comfort of accusation. On the other, I must acknowledge my own potential failure in the exchange. Did I present the idea clumsily, failing to anticipate the biases my words might trigger? Her tactic of othering, of creating a simplified villain, is rampant in modern America, but it is often sparked by a failure to communicate with the care and precision required for difficult conversations. From the right, we hear that our problems are the fault of illegal immigrants, an invading force here to take jobs and strain services, or the fault of coastal elites, a condescending cabal forcing a woke agenda on real America. From the left, we're told the fault lies with the billionaire class, a greedy monolith causing all inequality, or with the deplorables, a basket of intractable bigots whose ignorance is the sole obstacle to progress. In every case, the target is different, but the mechanism is identical. It provides a simple enemy, an object for our righteous anger, and it absolves us of any complicity or responsibility. It allows us to feel morally superior without the hard work of self-reflection or the messiness of actual solutions. And it makes real conversation impossible. If you believe the person you're talking to is not just someone with a different perspective, but a saboteur, a bigot, or an agent of oppression, you have no reason to listen to them. Your only job is to defeat them. And yet, the art is not entirely lost. It has just gone quiet. The encouraging truth is that millions of people still manage to have these difficult conversations successfully. The friend at the party who listened and apologized is a testament to this. These moments of connection and understanding happen every day, in break rooms, across backyard fences, and yes, even at family dinners. They don't make headlines, and they don't drive social media engagement, but they prove that our capacity to connect across divides is not gone. It is a muscle we have allowed to atrophy, but one that is ready to be strengthened. We cannot solve our immense, complex challenges, from economic inequality to decaying infrastructure, if we cannot even talk about them. To begin again, we must make a conscious choice. And that choice starts with how we initiate the conversation. The onus is on the individual to present a controversial idea with tact and care. We must be mindful of the loaded language and trigger words that ignite emotion rather than thought, making a deliberate effort to frame our arguments so they can be debated on their merits, not dismissed because of a poor or inflammatory delivery. In turn, we must learn to separate the person from the idea, cultivating the intellectual humility to accept that our own perspective might be incomplete. We must be brave enough to step outside the warm comfort of our tribes and have the productive, difficult, and sometimes deeply uncomfortable conversations that are the lifeblood of a functioning society. Beyond civic duty, there is a profound joy in this kind of engagement. It is a mental exercise, a sparring of thoughts that sharpens our own. After all, how else will we find ourselves up until 2 a.m. solving the world's problems one conversation at a time?